Let's go to the phone right now and bring in Troy Renck of the Denver Post, who covers the Broncos and the NFL.
It's a good thing Troy didn't hear us in the last 10 minutes. That my voice is now. I've lost my voice, Troy.
He's upset about the Rockies again, Troy.
Just, the fact they can't count to 3. They keep putting Kyle Kinders out there. Now we'll move on to something that's more pleasant. Because Troy left that beat because he didn't want to talk about it or write about it.
He got worn down.
And why would we drag him onto the show to talk about something that's as crappy as that? So let's talk about good.
Troy, it's the calm before the storm. Training camp for the Broncos starts next week. Now that they have Demaryius Thomas
Why aren't you on vacation?
Signed,
why are you talking to us?
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm busy riding. I'm up in the mountains watching my son play baseball while I write while he's taking it back. So it's all good.
Hey, Troy, now that Demaryius Thomas is signed, what is the main concern, if there is a concern, for the Broncos heading into training camp?
Well, it has to be the offensive line, Les. I mean, they can talk all they want about the zone blocking scheme and how it's easier to adapt to, but the reality is this: they're going to have an entirely new offensive line outside of really Louis Vespet. So, you need to see Ty Sombrilo in pads. We need to see Ben Garland in pads and get an idea of what's realistic for this offensive line. And that, for me, is the biggest question beyond, the Peyton Manning, is this his last year? But in terms of personnel, where are they on the offense and defensive line?
Well, I have a better question for you, Troy. I talked to a guy earlier today, and he had the audacity to tell me that Owen Daniels has a chance to be a Pro Bowl tight end. Would you straighten that guy out?
You're twisting it again. Troy, the question was, of Owen Daniels and Virgil Green, who is the most likely, who is more likely to eventually become a Pro Bowl tight end with Peyton Manning throwing him the ball?
That's not how you put it. Eventually was never in there.
Yeah. Owen Daniels will be Dallas Clark for Peyton Manning.
See?
Julius Thomas, but he's going to catch more passes probably than Julius. It's just Julius was unique because of his ability in the red zone. He was a mismatch. I mean, they just could not cover him. But outside of the red zone, Julius struggled at times and obviously got hurt. But if you look at Owen Daniels' stats, as I did a few weeks ago, most of his catches for the Ravens were in third down. I mean, he's a guy who makes a lot of key catches. And I was told by one of his ex-teammates a couple days ago that Owen Daniels would be the smartest person on offense beyond Peyton Manning. The guy is an encyclopedia. So all those things should help. Now, he's not going to be Julius Thomas in the red zone, but if he continues to convert third downs, that's a huge weapon.
Yeah, if he's in the Pro Bowl, I will kiss both your butts.
Over-under on catches for Owen Daniels, Troy?
I would say he's going to be right at 50. I'd be surprised.
That won't get him in the
55.
Yeah, that won't get him in the Pro Bowl.
No, I said 40 because Virgil's going to catch 25 balls. They're going to play 2 tight end formations. They're going to run the ball more. Yeah, they'll use him on third down, but you weren't as closely following the team a couple of years ago. They had 2 quality veteran tight ends, and they didn't catch that many passes between them. So, I mean, they were both. We're talking about Joel Dreesen and the other guy who we've already forgotten.
Yeah, well, I will say this though, Woody. Gary Kubiak's affection for tight ends might be the most of any coach in the NFL or in NFL history. So Daniels will get used, but again, 45 to 55, somewhere in there. The issue for me is how many third downs, how many touchdowns, because he's going to catch passes, and their numbers overall are going to be down because they're not going to be in Adam Gase's offense. But I mean, Pro Bowl would seem like a stretch, but can he catch 50 passes for 6 touchdowns? I think they'd take that.
I have a question for both of you. Is Adam Gase going to fix Cutler?
I don't think anyone can fix Jay Cutler. I mean, I don't, personally, at this point. How would you fix him at this point in his career? What is he, almost 10 years in? I mean, how would you get him to accept it? There's nothing that's proven that's allowed him to be coachable. I don't see it. And I wish Adam Gase luck, but it's really hard. It's really hard to change a guy at that point in his career to say, Jay, stop turning the ball over. No one in the NFL turns the ball over anymore, yet you can't figure it out. All he does is turn the ball over.
Does he destroy Adam Gase's career, though?
Well, I don't know that Adam Gase is a quarterback fixer. I think what you do with Jay Cutler is you mitigate him. You don't put him in a position to make as many mistakes as he's made in the recent past.
You
run the ball more. They got Forte at running back.
You run the ball, you're going to piss him off.
And you throw the ball to Forte more. And John Fox, forget about Adam Gase for a second. John Fox is a coach who would prefer to run the ball and to throw the ball to his running backs more. So I think that's what you do with Cutler. I think he can be a more efficient, more effective quarterback if you put him in a position to succeed instead of putting him in a position to fail and turn the ball over.
Guys,
The reason I don't buy that is because when he throws less, then when he does throw, he's going to try to make big plays to make up for it, and he's still going to throw picks.
Sure.
Now, maybe he'll prove me wrong. I just got to see it. He can't stop turning the ball over.
I don't see it either. You got a guy that says he had a stronger arm, John Elway. He's not going to be content to throw it to the running backs or just run the football. This is a guy that wants to throw it 40, 50 yards every time he gets a ball. He wants to buy time, look for somebody down the field. He's not going to work a tree. He's not going to be like what Adam Gase wants of a guy. I think he's going to be a coach killer. He's going to get more coaches fired. He's going to get John Fox and Adam Gase fired.
Hey, Troy, back to the Broncos, if you don't mind. You mentioned earlier offensive line and defensive line. I think we've been so focused on the offensive line, we have been neglecting to mention the fact that this defensive line is going to be remade, reconstructed. They were really good at stopping the run last year. Do the Broncos' defensive coaches and, along with Gary Kubiak, feel that they will be just as good a run-stuffing defense, or is there worry about the defensive line as well?
I don't see any way that they'll stop the run the way they did last year because the whole scheme was designed to stop the run. They set a franchise record for fewest yards allowed per game on the ground. I mean, that led by Terrence Knighton, and frankly, it was a function of the way they played. Now switching to the 3-4. You're going to ask a lot of Sylvester Williams to step up. Can he stay on the field for more than one down? Is he a two-down guy? Darius Kilgo, that draft choice, is he going to be able to step in? But the reality is this, Les, they're going to give up more yards on the ground because of the way they're going to blitz. I think fans would gladly give up more yards on the ground if it leads to more turnovers because of blitzing. The fact that they stopped the run was great, but it didn't come with anything on the backside. It just meant they were vanilla and they stopped the run because they didn't intercept enough passes. They didn't have enough big plays defensively, and I think that's going to be the biggest change under Phillips. Is they need to stop the run on first down, some, not all the time, but they've got to have more big plays. The lack of turnovers is maddening.
Yeah, we talk all the time about, you talk about the offensive line. We talk all the time about the number 1 and number 2 draft choices. Who's going to come out of this draft that you think, and I know, Troy, this is unfair, but all our questions are unfair. Who's going to come out of this draft in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, 4th round that actually you think could play?
Well, Max Garcia, that lineman, I'd be surprised if he isn't starting at some point this season. They like him a lot, and Gino Gurkowski's he's kind of keeping the seat warm, whether it's for Garcia or last year the kid that was on the practice squad from Boise. I mean, Max Garcia is a guy to keep an eye on. They like him a lot, both at center and guard. So it would not surprise me if he becomes a key contributor. And Darius Kilgo, the kid I just mentioned, they need him to actually play well because their defensive line's a little short right now. We don't know what's going to happen with Antonio Smith, if he's going to be back. And what are they going to get out of Sylvester Williams? He's had a great off-season, but that's just it. It's just an off-season right now.
How long can you wait on Antonio Smith? I mean, it's just floating out there with nothing. I mean, do you wait till the beginning of the season?
How long does it take to investigate that thing?
Well, at some point, unless you plan to cut him, he's going to be in camp because at that point, if you don't allow him to report, then he can file a grievance because there is no charge against him. It's an investigation. And the off-season is, most of that was voluntary to say, hey, go deal with your thing. Once camp starts, that's no longer voluntary, and you can't just keep him away. Decide, well, don't come here. They can't do that to a player, any player. I'm not talking just Antonio Smith. So hopefully there's resolution on his end. If not, I mean, it would not surprise me if he's in camp and then they just play it out and see what goes from there. But at some point, they need resolution to either charge or have the DA come out and say we're not charging him. But if they told him to stay away from camp, it's my understanding he could file a grievance. You can't just tell guys not to come to camp and not pay him. That doesn't work that way, whether it's him or anyone else.
Troy, last thing, need a very quick answer. Brandon Marshall, Danny Trevathan, is either one going to be ready to go full bore come training camp next week?
Trevathan maybe, Marshall no. No, Marshall is going to be probably more on the Chris Harris plan, less where it would not shock me if he doesn't play in the preseason based on the recovery time for what he had done on that Liz Frank. Trevathan will be close, and I would think he's going to play at least a couple preseason games because he hasn't played forever. He's basically played 1.5 games last year, but I can't see Marshall being ready. And he doesn't really need to be until the opener.
Hey, Troy, thanks. Expect a phone call from us next week, all right?
You got it, guys. Take
All
care.
right, Troy Renck of the Denver Post. The Celtic Tavern was bringing you that segment. They're the official sponsor of the Colorado Rapids. Celtic provides a bus to every Rapids home game. You can tailgate 2 hours before kickoff with everybody else on the bus. And the Celtic is just 2 blocks west of Coors Field on Blake. It's the Celtic Tavern.